today. Obviously, we've got a couple of days of prep to get ready for this race. It's a good time for us to get together and just talk about the processes and the things that go into actually getting to this point. So I'm here with the race engineers for Arrow McLaren SP. So we'll just talk about processes, technology, how we get to where we're going. So I'll tell you, for me, there's no better feeling than rolling through Gasoline Alley, going out into the pit box and firing up the engine and getting ready for your first time on track at the Speedway. It gives me butterflies, makes me feel sick to my stomach sometimes on that first time lap. What's it do for you?
Well, like once the car rolls out to Gasoline Alley and you're kind of walking through and you see all the fans for the first time, you really kind of feel like you're like a gladiator or something, like going into an event where you're just trying to beat other competitors. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a really cool experience to see all the fans, to see all the other cars on track, to know that you and the entire team have put in all this energy and this work to try to be the fastest car out there.
Blair and Will, obviously you guys are working with drivers that haven't raced here yet. What do you tell them on practice day one?
There's a lot of just weight set on this race, and they're like, oh man, I got to be fast. It's the Indy 500. And you're like, look, we have more time than any other week. We'll get there. You just got to work up to it slowly. Yep. And we were watching the other day as they were qualifying, and Pato and Oliver in there, and they're going, there's Scott Dixon, he's run 19 Indy 500s, and they're barely older than that. And so you're just like, look, you'll get there. You just got to be patient and just work through everything.
What tools do we have at our disposal to be able to understand what the car is doing when sometimes our young drivers don't have the skill set yet to really close that feedback loop?
There is timing and scoring data where we can look at straightaway speeds and splits, and we know how closely other people's cars are following the pack. We also have the video camera that's on the roll hoop of the car that records, every time the car drives. We can see the driver's perspective, what he's doing with his hands, where he's running on the track. We have GPS data. We can take video from up in the grandstands and overlay it with other cars to look at the line. Even within the timing and scoring, they now share some basic telemetry data amongst all the teams. So we can go and we can look at an opposition's speed and steering and throttle and gear usage. Like I said, it's a huge amount of stuff, and that's kind of part of our challenge, is knowing which of these pieces of information it's more important to look at.
Do any of you guys know how much actual raw data gets pulled out of the car?
Oh man, it's huge.
I don't know the number.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. What do you think? We accumulate 40 gigabytes through a couple weeks of Indy? Something like that?
I would say probably, yeah.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on qualifying? I think just generally speaking, with all the things that we've covered, what does it mean to qualify well here?
It is just such a gratifying experience to qualify well here, be on pole, to know that your group, your whole team, did it better than everybody else here, because everyone's trying extremely hard.
I mean, what are you looking at up until that moment when they launch the car? Are you looking at weather? Are you looking at the track temps? What are you queuing?
Where does my track temp currently sit in qualifying to where I did my runs? Where does the ambient condition sit? What's the projected downforce, projected drag? Where's the engine going to be operating? Do we have the right gear in?
Your car went before my car.
Yeah.
And so while your car is running, I'm watching the telemetry from your car.
Yeah.
So the information coming in that, we can see every sensor real time on the computer screens on the timing stand. We're like NASA mission control there. We're using that to make decisions, and then I imagine you made decisions on the basis of what the both of us did.
Yes, getting to go last was, good and bad, because you're later, the track temp's hotter, so you're, worried have I trimmed out enough, but you get to watch the other two guys run, so you can make adjustments based on what they've done. So that's, good. But I'd say qualifying overall is the most fun and the most terrifying 4 laps of the whole month, because this is as fast as the car is going to go. You have it on the edge. You don't have to worry about it over a fuel stint. You have to worry about it for 4 laps and be fast.
I think maybe what isn't fully realized here is just how on edge these cars are. Like, you are on the limit. On Pato's first run, we went into turn 1 at 240 miles per hour. And if something is just wrong, it's not going to turn out well.
I mean, from a track temp perspective, I know that when we made our second attempt in the day, we waited until a tiny little cloud covered up a part of the sun.
Yeah.
And we sent the car and timed it perfectly. I mean, the track temps maybe came down 3 or 4 degrees, but it was enough for us to go faster. I mean, that's really how close it is, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about knife edge, right? I've told people, I said, if somehow you could walk out there into the corner and stand alongside the car, and you were to just push on one of the tires with your fingertip, the back tire or the front tire, it is so finely balanced, you would spin that car out with just a push of your finger.
Another question that I get a lot is, you know, all three of us run Dallara chassis, we run Chevy engines, we have the same parts in the car. Why are we doing different stuff? You know, how come all the cars aren't the same speed?
Again, it goes back to the fact there is a human being in there. And each human being senses how the car behaves in different ways. They have hyper-tuned sensitivities that we don't have. But each of them is different, whether they perceive it with their inner ear, or their vision, or the forces on their body sideways, or the pucker in their butt, right? Yeah. And so each of them has a different mix on how they perceive it.
Yeah, well, we talked about it in the qualifying piece, you know, how much of a difference even 1 or 2 degrees of track temp makes. It's no different for the race.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I think that's the big thing for carb day, and just honestly every day here is the conditions are always a little bit different. It all kind of, you know, it all adds up and makes it a happy car one day and a very unhappy car
What
the next
is it
day.
about Indy that makes it worse than all the other tracks, though? I mean, we have the same thing at the other tracks, but for some reason, this place is just
I think it's I
hypersensitive
think
to it all.
that's the challenge. This place is tough and it's supposed to.
Yeah, it drives people
Because it
nuts.
makes it so much, so rewarding to win because you know that the track changes all the time.
Now that we're to carb day, and you've made your final changes, the car's rolling back to the garage, the only other thing left is the race. You all personally, what's that feel like the night before? What do you do? Do you have a routine?
I like to have everything sort of set up how I think I'm going to do it. Tire staggers, your tire run order, your tire pressures, any last minute changes you think you want to make. And then I kind of like, okay, this is my plan. And like I said, close the book and then, you know, you sleep on it. But you mostly just lay in bed. And then in the morning you spend that time just reviewing what you've done to make sure it's right. Your last thing is pick the downforce level of the car.
Yep.
Gears.
Yeah.
You have to
Well,
pick
the
the
two
right.
kind of go together,
Yeah,
right?
the downforce level, you put more downforce on, you have more drag, you're going to go slower.
Yep.
But you might be doing that because of the wind. So, you know, we don't pick the gear ratios for the race really until the last possible moment because the wind may increase or decrease, may turn around. And man, nothing is more frustrating than having the wrong gear in, and then you are stuck with that wrong gear for 500 miles.
What are you guys looking at in race?
In the pits we can do tire pressures, and like it's a big thing. You think, oh, tire pressure is not a big deal. You get in your car and they're all within a couple pounds on your dash. You're like, that's fine. But we change half a psi in one tire, and that affects the handling of the car.
There's the big swing from running at the front of a group versus running behind people. The car, because it's an aerodynamic device, it behaves really differently when you're in dirty air. So the disruption of all that turbulence, and then the fact you just have less downforce, the car just kind of lifts itself up off the ground. They have to really make pretty big adjustments with the anti-roll bars and the weight checker so that they're comfortable in that. And then as soon as they get out front, let's say they make the pass and suddenly they're the leader, they better adjust it all back the other way or you could crash.
You know, ultimately Indy is our biggest challenge of the year. So thanks everybody for your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.